Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Tammy. How you going?
I'm good, thanks. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
That's good. Thank you for joining me again.
No problem.
So today, yeah, we will be doing the assessment task 3
Yeah.
with you. I will just start before we go ahead with the meeting. I'll just start to say, for work health and safety, just, make sure you're in a safe place with no cords. If you have to get up, just, watch any cords or anything that you may have on the floor. If you make sure that you're comfortable and, you're sitting comfortably. And if you need to go to the toilet or get a drink, just let me know and we can pause. That's fine.
Yeah, no problem.
So I'll go with you what we're doing today. So first of all, I'm just going to check my list.
No, that's fine.
Get anything? Okay, so first of all, also, sorry, before we continue, I have your permission to record this.
Yes, you do.
Yes, and it will be posted, I have your permission to be posted on YouTube for my trainer to view.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll go through the assessment tasks and we'll make sure the ones that are due today or have been due earlier are all there and it's all been signed. And if you have any questions, we'll go through that. And maybe if there's anything you might need to resubmit, we will go through that also. And of course, it's a mock assessment. So it's not real, and your satisfactory or non-satisfactory result of assessment tasks or the result of your unit of competency. If you are deemed competent, again, you won't be given the unit of competency for yourself. And so then after we go through your assessment tasks, make sure we have everything. We will do assessment task 3, your verbal questions. Now, I did mention to you that, because it's something you probably need to research if I ask you. So did you do just a little bit of research with the questions? So
So with the questions, I did actually do some research. So I have taken some notes. So, just so that I can make sure that just little notes so I can prompt myself.
Yeah, of course. That's fine. It's originally written questions. So of course that's something, open book. So this is open book. So that's great that you've done that. Makes it a bit easier. And let's see. Before we begin, do you have any questions?
No, not yet.
No? Okay. And you can hear me and see me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. If there's any time that you don't see what I'm talking about on the screen or can't hear me properly, just let me know or write it if
no problem.
There's some technical issues. Okay. And then after the assessment, we'll just, if you have any more questions or ask, or I'll let you know when you'll receive the marks for your assessment task and your final result for the unit and whether you're deemed competent or non-competent, and we'll go through that at the end of your assessment. Okay.
No problem.
So there's no questions. We will begin. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so this is your student assessment booklet. Can you see this?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Okay, great. So assessment task 1 were the case studies.
Yeah.
So let's go through them. We'll make sure they're all answered. Oh, I can see your signature is there. Okay, so I've marked them and I have already emailed you with the feedback. Did you receive that?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay. And so, so I've gone through that already and I can see that you have completed the questions.
Yeah.
So I'll scroll down now to the project. So assessment task 2. So let's see. Was the equal opportunity employment policy?
Yeah.
So this one I've started marking, but I haven't sent them to you. But again, all the questions have been answered.
Yeah.
And I will send that to you this week.
Oh, fantastic.
With feedback. Okay, so now we are up to assessment task 3. So it's the verbal questions.
Yeah.
When we're finished with the verbal questions, I'll again get you to sign the assessment task cover sheet.
Yes.
Say that that's complete. Okay. So let's go down. Okay. So I'll read out the assessment task instructions to you. And if you have any questions afterwards, you can just ask me.
Yep.
Okay, so task summary. So this is an open book test. You can use the internet, textbooks, or other documents to help you with your answers if required, which you've already done.
Yes, yes.
You must answer all 18 questions correctly. I will write your answers down in the space provided.
Yeah.
And let's continue on the next one. I'm going to handwrite the answers because it's easier than typing and looking at the board. So I have my assessors tool over here. And so what do you need? So you had access already to textbooks and other learning materials.
Yes.
And you had access to a computer, or you would have handwritten however you wrote the questions down, and the internet.
Yeah.
So you'll do this task. Yeah, we'll do it now. It is in your own time, and it is due the 24th. I've lost a bit. We're a bit delayed, but I know with lockdowns and everything at the moment, things have been a bit put off. So that's okay.
Yeah.
And if you get something wrong, so if your assessor marks any of your answers as incorrect, they will ask you about resubmission. You will need to do one of the following. So you will answer the questions that were incorrect in writing. In this case, I'll ask you the questions again, and you'll verbally tell me the answer. So I'll give you time to research the question again, because I know there's a lot about policies and everything that's hard to know off the top of your head. So I'll give you opportunity to do that, and then you'll have the opportunity to answer the questions that were incorrect verbally. Okay, does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense.
Okay, great. Now, if there's some of the questions that you don't understand, just let me know, and we can go through the question.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So question 1, Jilly has been asked to write a set of policies and procedures for records management in his workplace. He has been asked to make sure he complies with ISO 15489. So Jilly has no idea what AS/ISO 15489 is. So he decides to ask you about it. So what is AS/ISO 15489? And how does it relate to legal and ethical compliance for the implementation of policy and procedures?
Okay, so AS/ISO 15489, I believe, is the Australian and International Standard of Records Management. It provides a guidance on creating records and policies, procedures, and systems to process and support management of records at all time. It's designed to help businesses and other organisations manage their records and keeping them reliable and up to date. So the records are kept in all types of environments and businesses, and are no longer just physical items. It also provides a descriptive benchmark that organisations can use to assess their records management system and practices. It is designed to help organisations create, capture and manage full and accurate records as well, and helps them meet their business and legal requirements as stakeholders' expectations.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all right. Okay. So excuse me while I'm looking away from the computer. I'm just writing it.
No, that's
all down. Okay. Question 2. Jilly is also asked to make sure that the records management policies and procedures comply with the Australian privacy principles. So what are the APP and what do they cover?
Okay, so the APP is the Australian Privacy Principles, and it's a privacy protection framework under the 1988 Privacy Act. It applies to any organisation or agency that covers, privacy or deals with privacy. So there are about, I think there's 13 Australian privacy principles, and they govern the standards, rights and obligations around collection and disclosure of personal information, and organisations, agency, governance and accountability, integrity and correction of personal information, as well as the rights of individuals to access their own personal information. The privacy principles also are principle-based laws. So it gives an organisation, an agency, flexibility to tailor their personal information handling practices to meet their business models and the diverse needs of different individuals. So it also is technology neutral, so it allows businesses and organisations to adapt it in changing technologies.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, next question. So question 3.
Yep.
A 3-year-old boy, Billy, has come down with a high fever and Casey, the educator, wants to give Billy some Panadol straight away. Mm-hmm. Casey's room leader, Sarah, told Casey that they need to give his legal guardians a call first to ask for their permission over the phone to administer the Panadol. Okay. So why is this so? And provide an example to explain what informed consent.
Okay, so the reason why this is so is because Panadol is a form of medication, and it's stated in the policies that medication can't be given to a child without the parent's consent. It is also needed because Billy may have already had Panadol earlier that day, without, and without administering permission. It could mean that he's exceeding that dose. So say he had it at 8 o'clock already, and then at 9:30 we've said, oh, we need to give him more, and we've you got to wait that time period, obviously, which means if we did give it to him without permission, it could be a danger to his health. An example I can give, if a father brings their child who has an ear infection and they're on antibiotics, the father wants educators to give antibiotics to the child at the time they're sent around lunchtime. So what will happen is, if that's what the father wants, he'll need to sign a medication form, for his son, giving authorization. This is the time, this is the dosage and everything like that, so that the educators can actually administer it.
Okay, great. Question 4. Nathan is an educator who is also babysitting a single mother's 3-year-old at home. Sometimes he also attends the childcare centre Nathan works at. He has been babysitting Jillian's son for some time now. Jillian is a very rich woman. So recently, Nathan has been spending more time with Jillian by taking his time when leaving after she has arrived home. One day, Nathan suggests to Jillian, because she's on her own, that he will come to a house in the evening to watch a movie. Jillian does not want to do this, Nathan is much younger than her. She suspects that she is getting special treatment because he's interested in her money. Nathan tells her not to be silly. They are only going to watch a movie together. So Gillian feels that she has to let Nathan visit because she doesn't want to hurt his feelings. Now, if you, in any of these questions, there's only one, but if you need to reread that to help you answer, Alicia, I'll give you extra time to do so. Okay, so the question says, review the early childhood code of ethics at the website. Sorry, I did provide that. I emailed that to you, I think.
Yes, I've got
okay.
that.
Based on what you have read, what principles is Nathan contravening?
So just to confirm, contravening is, doing the wrong thing by,
Yeah. So
I thought that was the case because when I was looking at it, I just wanted to make sure. So being respectful, responsive, and reciprocal in regards to relationships that are essential to a child's education and care.
Yeah.
That's all I could find. I'm not sure if I'm right on that.
That's okay. That's great. Thank you. Okay. So question 5. Heidi is the room leader in the senior toddlers room and has 4 assistants in her room. So each staff member has recently obtained their certificate 4 in early childhood education. Heidi has the diploma of early childhood education and care. One of her staff asks Heidi if she can join a network group that is discussing the implementation of new government initiatives. Heidi replies, no, you have your certificate 4. You don't need any more professional development for at least 4 years. Okay, so question is, Heidi clearly does not believe in continuing professional development. What significant difficulties is this attitude going to cause in Heidi's work team?
Okay. Some significant difficulties this, can cause would be that their team might not work well in a team and not be able to respond well to feedback and reflection from their fellow team members. It could be different to collaborate different ideas, and I guess Heidi's attitude could also influence her team members to think the same, especially if they're new and young to the field. So by influencing them, they may not pursue further professional development, which, can overall professional development is always good. So,
yeah. Great. Okay. Question 6. To provide 3 examples of how children and family information should be protected in the workplace.
3 examples. Okay. So one example of how children and family information should be protected in the workplace could be, is children's observations and the reflections that we do. So they're all sorted away in a folder inside a cupboard. A second example, families' enrolment forms that are in the filing cabinet that is always locked up with the information there. And from the enrolment forms that is on the computer is also locked with a password that only the director knows. And a third example could be if there are children with any allergies or medical conditions, that their photos need to be available for all staff in the room at meal times, but they're displayed, either hanging up inside a cupboard door near the eating area, or in a folder near the cupboard in the eating area that's inside that child's room. So somewhere where it's not just in plain sight for anyone to see.
Okay. Great. Question 7. Abba is the kindergarten teacher in a long daycare centre. After conducting a safety check of the outdoor yard, she sees that it is safe to bring out the children, However, whilst being outside, so she's outside with the children already, she notices a snake on the path in the other outdoor area that belongs to the senior toddler's room. There is no one in the same yard where the snake is. So what is Abba's duty of care to the children? And what should she do?
Okay. So her duty of care is to keep all the children safe from harm. That's the first thing. Firstly, she should calmly take all the kids inside and just do a head count to make sure that she has them all there present. Then I would probably make sure the doors are all closed as well so the snake can't get in. This probably will need to be done with the help of another educator as well. Mm-hmm. At the same time, if they have a spare educator or immediately once, they've gotten everyone inside, they need to call the other room to see, who uses the outdoor yard and notify them that, not to take their kids out. Then an educator needs to call the director or the next person, in charge to notify them, who will then call all the other rooms in the, in the centre. So everyone in the centre is notified that there's a snake in the yard. The director then will call a snake handling organisation to come out and take the snake away. And, if there happens to be a spare educator that can keep an eye on the snake from a safe distance, that would be handy. And then, they should also tell, the snake handlers where the snake is, and, it's handy to have them there so that they can deal with that efficiently.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. Let's go to question 8. Okay, now I'm not reading too fast or anything for you, just...
No, that's fine. Sorry, I have trouble. I've got my notes here and I'm just trying to make sure that I have trouble reading my notes sometimes.
That's okay. If you just take your time, if you need to get, get your response ready and just think of it in your head first, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, question 8. What is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and who uses it?
So the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a document which outlines the rights and freedoms of everyone, that everyone is entitled to. So it's not, sorry, give me a second. I've written my notes down. It was one of the first international agreements for the basic principles of human rights. So nearly every state in the world has accepted the declaration. However, it's not a treaty either. So it does not directly create legal obligations for countries.
Okay.
So it is an expression of the fundamental values, though, which are shared by all members of the international community, and it has had a profound influence on the development of overall international human rights laws. Although it's not legally binding, the protection and rights of freedom set out by the Declaration has been incorporated into many national constitutions and domestic legal frameworks.
Okay.
And that I just answered I and J, sorry. I just realised.
Oh, that's great. Is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights legally binding? There we go. Easy. Thank you. Question 9. Okay. Maid has just had his interview for a job for a before and after school care. The job is to drive the bus from the children's school to the local long daycare centre, where they are picked up from there by their parents, as it is run by the same company. He has presented his police check and driver's licence. He does not have a working with children's check yet. Maid is well known to the coordinator of the long daycare centre as they live next door to each other. The day after his interview, the coordinator asked him if he would start the job the next day. He still has not filled out the working with children's check. So when Maid, the name has been, changed. We'll continue with Maid.
Yeah.
Maid explains to the coordinator that he does not have a working with children's check. She responds that she knows Maid has children of his own and looks after them well. He can get the check done some other time in the future when he has time. Okay, so that makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep that up in case you need to.
Oh, no, that's right. I've got it written down here.
Great. Okay, so what 2 acts has the coordinator breached?
Okay, so she's breached, or he or she has breached the Worker Screening Act, which is, I think, was in 2020, and the Law of Negligence and Limitation of Liability Act 2008.
Okay, great. Okay, so Maid is anxious to please, but he knows he can't lawfully work around children until his working with children check is complete. But he doesn't want to lose the chance of starting a new job. So what should Maid do?
He should probably explain to the coordinator that he can't work until he has his working with children's check, but that he really does want the job. So he, because of that, he will fill out his form as soon as possible, or straight away, and let them know once he has actually obtained his working with children's check, so he can then commence employment.
Great. Thank you. Let's go to question 10. Right, more than halfway there.
That's right.
Briefly describe the meaning and purpose of a rating and assessment.
Okay, so rating and assessment is a 2-day process with opportunities for services to show assessors how they are meeting the national quality standards and enhancing outcomes for children. So 2 assessors come out of the centre for 2 days. 2 of the assessors come out. Let me start again. 2 of the assessors that come out to the centre for 2 days and observe educators in all rooms. They usually ask them questions and read through all the documentation and quality improvement stuff, plans specifically, and they give you a rating result from, working towards something, that you're meeting something or you're exceeding your expectations. Like they're, the 3 kind of bits there, according to the benchmarks that are set from the national quality standards.
Okay, great. Right. All right. Question 11. Millicent is the coordinator of the Blinkinsville Long Daycare Centre. Millicent often organises the NDIS, so the National Disability Insurance Scheme, which is funded by the Victorian Government, and recurrent funds are provided each year to provide for children's needs. So we located the current program guidelines and information guide for the National Disability Insurance Scheme in Victoria. You said you've researched your answers, so
Yes.
located that. Okay. So question A, what is the process to apply for the National Disability Insurance Scheme?
Okay, so the first thing they'll need is a diagnosis from a medical professional or a early childhood professional specifically. They would then require evidence like assessment results and observations, which they would then submit into the NDIS. So the third is submitting to the NDIS.
Yeah, I'm submitting. Okay, great. And question B, what may happen if I'll start again. What may happen if any of these general conditions are not complied with?
then the child may not receive any NDIS funding or will be declined to receive NDIS.
Okay. Question 12. So Brad is the only male out of 7 workers in his toddler room and is being harassed by his colleagues. They constantly make jokes and comments about him being a male and about his interactions with the children. They say that he is not good at his job as he's a male and all the female colleagues make sexualized comments about him. They also say that the parents would not trust him with their children. When an opportunity comes up for Brad to take a room leader position in the junior toddlers room, he's told not to attempt to apply for it. He is a man and will not be able to understand children's needs or how to comfort them. So question A is, what legislation is being breached in this scenario?
That would be the Sex Discrimination Act.
Yeah. And B, what steps could Brad take if he wanted to formally lodge a complaint?
So he could report this to the director and lodge a formal complaint against his colleagues.
Okay, thank you. C, who could Brad talk to so he can get some reliable advice about this issue? And it says list 4 sources.
Yeah. So he can always call Fair Work Australia or Fair Work Act Australia. He could contact the educational leader or the director. Also, if he's having trouble with it mentally, he can contact Beyond Blue to see what advice they recommend about it, and to use them as a sounding board to see, whether it is discrimination or not, essentially.
Okay, thank you. Great. Question 13. Okay, so this is a long one. We'll go with it. But like you said, you've researched it earlier, so the question should be, yeah. Question 13. So Claire is a safety officer for a community-based long daycare centre in Melbourne. She's doing an audit of the first aid kits in the workplace and uses the first aid in the workplace compliance code, edition 1st of September 2008, WorkSafe Victoria. So Claire accessed the document at that website, and the centre is considered to be low risk and has 24 employees. Claire finds there is one first aid kit in the workplace. The first aid kit is kept in a large steel container, which is locked. The key is held by the first aid officer. There are no markings on the container. Claire checks the contents of the first aid kit and finds 3 things missing against what is prescribed in the code of practice. Yeah. So contents of the kit include basic first aid notes, disposable gloves, individually wrapped sterile adhesive dressings, sterile iPads, packet sterile coverings for serious wounds, safety pins, small sterile unmedicated wound dressings, medium sterile unmedicated wound dressings, and large sterile unmedicated wound dressings, non-allergenic tape, rubber thread or crate bandage, scissors, tweezers, sterile saline solution, and plastic bags for disposal. So, question A, are there enough first aid kits for this workplace?
No, there's not enough first aid kits, because they're actually not complete. So there are some items that are missing and they haven't labeled the first aid kits either.
Yeah, great answer. Okay. B, there are 2 things that Claire finds about the container of the first aid kit that do not comply with the code. I think you mentioned some already, but what are they?
Yeah, so it'd be the missing items that were in the first aid kit and the location that it's kept in. It's not easy to get to.
Yeah. What are 3 items that are missing from the first aid kit?
Yep. So a resuscitation mask is missing. Triangular bandages is missing. And there's meant to be a book in there as well. It's a recording book of details of first aid provided.
Okay. Great. 3. Okay. All right, so question 14. A 3-year-old boy, Luke, has a global developmental delay, so his behavior is similar to that of a 2-year-old. He's often aggressive with other children when he becomes bored or they get too close to him. And there may have been accident reports written up for other children due to Luke's behavior. He has moved up to the pre-kindergarten room, which is a larger room with less educators, and the educators are finding it difficult to redirect Luke's behavior. And because it is causing stress for educators and even the children. So the room leader, Ellen, does not know what to do anymore. And she's created a space in the room where she can isolate Luke and be excluded from the room so that he can stay away from other children and they can stop writing up accident forms. Would you consider Ellen's choices unlawful, and explain your answer?
Yeah. So yes, I would consider her choices to be unlawful. I don't think it's fair for her to, she shouldn't be isolating Luke and excluding him from the room and other children. He, has a right to make a choice where he plays in the room, and Alan needs to think another strategy to help him as well as help keep the children safe. It is also stated as well, when I was looking at it in the Child Safe Standards Principle, that of inclusion, that it's being breached. So yeah, what she's doing is breaching that.
Okay, thank you. Question 15. What is the purpose of public liability insurance?
Yeah. So public liability insurance is designed for professionals who interact with members of the public. It helps protect against claims of personal injury or property damage that a third party may suffer as a result of your business or business operations.
All right, thank you. B, what is the purpose of workers' compensation?
Yeah, so workers' compensation is also known as a workman compensation policy. It covers medical costs and usually a percentage of wages lost should an employee be unable or unfit to work due to any illness or injury they've sustained while doing their job.
Okay. Great, thank you. You've certainly done your research.
Yeah.
Okay, question 16. So explain the role of each of the following. So we'll start with A, the Australian Human Rights Commission.
Yeah, so the Australian Human Rights Commission, they investigate and conciliate discrimination and human rights complaints. So the complaints process is free and confidential and allows individuals to resolve their disputes quickly and effectively.
Okay. Right. B, Fair Work. So explain the role of Fair Work Commission.
Yeah, so the Fair Work Commission provides education, assistance and advice and guidance to employees and employers. They also promote and monitor compliance with workplace laws, inquire and investigate into breaches under the Fair Work Act and take appropriate action if required.
Okay. So explain the role of the Victorian Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities.
Yeah. So the Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities is a Victorian law that sets out the basic rights, freedoms and responsibilities of all the people in Victoria. It's about the relationship between government and the people that it serves. The human rights must be taken into account when Parliament makes new laws.
Okay. Thank you. And we have explain the role of the Australian Government Department of Human Services.
Yeah, so the Australian Government Department of Human Services is responsible for delivering a range of welfare, health and child support payments and other services that are eligible to the Australian citizens or permanent residents.
Thank you. And one more. So explain the role of the Australian Services Union.
Yep, so the Australian Services Unions exists to defend and advance the rights of our members. So by acting together, workers in the industries and occupations we represent are in the very best position to protect their rights at work and to achieve better wages and conditions.
Okay. Great. Oh, all right. That's 2 more questions. Question 17. All workers are required. So I'll say that again. All workers are required to model ethical behaviour in their own work. So imagine you are a newly qualified early childhood educator. List 4 ways that you plan to do this.
Okay. I guess the first one would be probably not get involved in any office gossip or, you know, employee gossip. To leave any of my personal values behind whilst working. Making sure I dress appropriately and accordingly to the dress code policy, and to be respectful of my work colleagues and director.
Great. That's 4. Okay, last question. So question 18. Dorina works in a long daycare centre. One day she's talking to Doris, a 4-year-old girl who has autism, who is very unhappy. She disclosed that Anna, another educator, had buckled her into a high chair last week. So she's 4, yes. Doris said it was because she kept getting up instead of eating her lunch. Doris had needed to go to the toilet and ended up wetting herself. Anna was angry with her and told her next time she would restrain her for longer. Doris knows the staff are worried about her not eating, but she doesn't like being forced in her chair until she is finished. So the question is, does Dorina, sorry, was I reading that correctly? Yes. Does Dorina have an obligation to report this? And explain your answer, referring to an applicable legislation or policy.
So yes, Dorina does have an obligation to report this because it is her duty of care to keep the child safe or Doris safe. And also her co-worker Anna has breached a lot of policies and regulations. So it is up to Dorina to, you know, report this. So, you know, as Anna, she didn't comply with her duty of care. And Doris won't feel safe with Anna anymore. And it's now she's now forcing her to put her in a high chair, even though, you know, she needs to go to the toilet. So those are definitely things that need to be reported. The different legislations that we can look at is the child safety standard, 9. So a child safe code of conduct, because she didn't keep Doris safe and behave in a professional manner towards Doris. And it was also in breach of the additional needs policy, where it states that the educators will treat children equally and fairly regardless of their perceived, I can't even read that word that I've written down.
It's okay.
Similarities. I think it's like this is similarities, or
yeah,
regardless of their perceived you know, disadvantages, I'll say.
Yeah.
So by buckling her into a high chair when she can actually sit in a chair, it's not good for her.
Yeah.
And you know, Anna's taken advantage of a vulnerable child in that aspect.
Okay, great. That was a good job. Okay. Thank you for that, Alicia. So that's assessment task 3, all complete. You probably need a drink of water after that. I know. So again, I will email this to you for you to sign again, that it's been completed. Great. So that's all done. Thank you for doing that.
No, that's not a problem at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to see. So according to the Bright Shores training policies and procedures, I will have this assessment task with a satisfactory or non-satisfactory result to you within 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then once that has been complete, if there's any feedback, if there's anything that you any answers we might have to redo, then I'll give you time to do that. And then once, we can organize another meeting to answer those questions. And then once that's been completed, I'll put it all together and we'll have a look at your final result of the unit of competency, whether you've achieved, competent or non-competent. Remembering it's, all mock assessments, so the result won't really be given to you. I will also send you a candidate feedback form. I'll email that to you. So it's just, some feedback on the assessment and myself as a trainer and assessor. So please be honest also and write down your feedback, because that will help me learn also as a trainer and assessor. So, within the week, if you're able to fill that out and just email that back to me.
Yeah, I can do that.
So going forward, again, if you have any questions about the assessments or the results, please email me. But again, going forward with your studies, then, you have the support of Amelia and your educational leader at the centre if you need any any help or any questions, or your room leaders. And I'm just going to check my list and make sure I've covered everything.
No, that's fine.
And I'll also email Amelia workplace representative feedback form, and I'll let her know how the assessment went today.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And I think that is all. We seem to have, all your assessment tasks there. All the questions were answered. So I'll get back to you with any feedback or, and are there any questions or?
No, not at all. Thanks.
No? Okay. Well, since we have everything and we've completed your assessment tasks, thank you, Alicia, for being my candidate.
No, that's all right.
And I will, get back to you with everything through email.
No problem, Tammy. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Bye.
Bye.
I'm just